Hey guys, so I am Smiles from Vigilant Valkyrie. I am here with Kristie today, and she is a fellow veteran. So we are super excited to connect with her, and we are just going to be discussing what she's doing in the veteran community and for the veteran community, and a little bit about who she is and her experiences in the military. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So yes, I am a 9-year veteran. I was spent 9 years active duty in the Army, and I was a medic. So I did love my time in, but for family, I got out. I started my military career in 93 and I got out in 02. So with that, I then got out, was a stay-at-home mom, finished my bachelor's and my master's degree on the GI Bill. So I highly recommend using that money. And then landed in Kentucky back in 2005, and I've kind of been here, and have been going to the VA since 05, because we're very lucky that our VA here is very, very good. It's usually in the top 10 in the country. So I have been very lucky in that aspect. So, and now I work several programs with the VA, and that I'm really proud of. So I have a very big passion about reducing veteran suicides and really embracing that mental health care is part of the total health. So when our brain has injuries and it has trauma, it affects how we feel physically.
Yeah.
Whether it's depression, whether it's back pain, joint pain, wanting to isolate, that if we can overcome some of those, we're going to feel better overall. I'm sure you know that when you're in, there's this stigmatism around, oh, if you seek mental health care, you're weak, there's something broken, it affects your security clearance. There's a number of things that it's not really acceptable for us to go out and seek health care.
Yeah.
And then we hang on to that when we get out, that, that we shouldn't go see it, which is completely kind of counterintuitive, that if you recognize that your brain has an injury and you need to go get help, then you're actually better off in the long run because you have tools to deal with that trauma and those things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. And it, as you said, there is still such a stigma. And, I'm in the reserves and just got off active orders. And even in this time, there's a huge stigma in asking for help. And it's frustrating and disheartening that you have to really think about, do I take that chance and ask for help because I need it? Or do I not because I don't want to jeopardize my career? That should not have to be a choose between your career and your mental health, which is essentially what it still is in the military today. And there's, all these programs within that advocate otherwise, but it's at the end of the day, reality still is you're having to essentially choose between your career or your mental health, and it should not be that way whatsoever. So that's fantastic that you, as you said, you're working on some different programs and stuff at the VA to try and stand up against that stigma and advocate that it is okay to get that help, because it's necessary. As you said, if you have an injury to your mind, to your brain, you need that help. You can't just Charlie might continue the mission. You're not going to be able to complete that mission,
Right. And so some of the programs, a couple of years ago, I knew the chief of mental health, and I went to her and said, hey, I've got this idea. Veterans in my generation and younger are not really going to the VFWs. They're not going to the American Legions. They're kind of lost in society because, when we're in, there's this path that tells you, okay, if you want to get promoted in life, if you want to do this, these are all the things you need to do in the military.
Yeah.
There is that straight line that you understand how to move forward. When you get out, it's kind of like if you've ever driven in Korea or India, everybody just kind of does what they want and nobody's staying in their lane. And there's not a single path that really directs you in life on how to move forward.
Yeah.
So I said, how do we reach our veterans? How do we change their opinion about mental health care? And I have tattoos. I love them. And part of mine was overcoming some obstacles. And part of kind of towards the healing end of it, of my mental health treatment. And I still go when I need a checkup. I call it a tune-up. I think that's perfectly okay to get a tune-up now and then. You go to the doctor regularly for your heart or, just primary care. I go for a mental health tune-up too.
Yeah.
So they approved it. It went through all the things it has to at the VA. And, those things take time. Because if it's going to be a public relations, they've got to go through multiple hoops. And I knew that kind of going in, it was going to be slow. But thankfully, the executive team over there was amazing and they approved the idea. And so there's been portraits of over 75 veterans taken, and they're mostly black and white by an amazing photographer that took pictures of the veterans, and it's showing their tattoos. And then it documents the stories behind the ink. So not just that they have tattoos, but they've used the mental health. And this is what one of mine is the symbol for sexual assault.
Yeah.
And so I went through therapy there because I had MST. And so I didn't deal with it when I was in. I didn't talk about it. I boxed it up and I pretended it didn't happen because, to be fair, and I know this still happens, it would have been victim blaming, or I should have done this, or I should have done that, or shouldn't have done this. And then I would have been moved to a different unit. It would all have been about putting me away from the perpetrators.
Right.
And my understanding is that's still just as prevalent now as it was back in the 90s. Yeah, I'm kind of telling age a little.
That's okay.
So that doesn't seem like it's changed. So unfortunately, my box, that I compartmentalized and put it away, fell off the shelf a couple of years ago, and it kind of exploded.
Yeah.
It was during the Kavanaugh hearings and then the swimmer down in California, and everybody just talked about it everywhere, social media, on the news, in the office, in your personal life. And I couldn't escape the discussions.
Right.
So I ended up having full-blown PTSD come out from it. I'd always been like sub-threshold with it, and I had to seek treatment. So part of that I finished up, with my tattoo was kind of towards the end. And so those portraits are going to hang in the VA there in Lexington, which is really kind of awesome, outside of the mental health clinics.
Yeah.
And then we're going to take some on tour when COVID, slows down. We just started that, and then COVID hit. So that was a little frustrating.
Yeah.
So that was one project. The other one, it's coming out in April, and I'm really excited about that. We spent a good while going over with one of the MST coordinator at the Lexington campus, and her and I just having a conversation really about what led me to seek treatment, what options are available out there, and that it's a personal journey. So whether somebody comes forward and says, yes, I'm a victim, whether they press charges, whether they don't talk about it for 20 years, it is a very personal journey, and nobody can tell anybody how to have that journey. Whether you need therapy right then, or you need it later, or you never need it, or you never talk about it. It's very, very individualized, and there's no right way to deal with sexual trauma.
Right.
So I'm excited to have that come out because it's during Sexual Assault Awareness Month in April. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So I'm really here because I'm in pageants.
Yeah.
I am a 47-year-old mom and grandma. My youngest kid, who's 15, she said, come on, Mom, I want you to do with me. So I did, and I've started out in Kentucky. I have qualified for nationals this coming summer, and my platform is around reducing veteran suicide and the stigmatism of mental health care. And so based on my platform and the speech that I did, I actually won that category here in Kentucky over all the other women from 17 and up as the what they call the Alice Award, which is a life and community experience. So I am very pleased and happy that I got that, because now I'm going to take it out to the national stage and really promote, because I think people are really unaware of the challenges, not just veterans face, but that women veterans face, because we have 4 times the national average of female suicides, and we're often more successful when we attempt it than our male counterparts or our female counterparts out in the civilian world.
Right. Yeah. Wow, that is all of that is absolutely amazing. And I love that we have connected. And it is so exciting that, you're 47 years old and your daughter has asked you and convinced you to join these pageants, which I think that in itself takes a lot of courage. And I mean, no matter your age, but to be a mom and a grandma, like you said, to be like, I'm going to do this. And then you won. And that is fantastic. And I think that it's great that you are choosing to use such a publicized platform to discuss veterans and female veterans and the challenges we face, because as you said, that is not recognized. It is not seen, and it is not often known specifically what female veterans face. And I think it's often oftentimes people are surprised at the fact that there's over 2 million female veterans now. Like, that is a substantial amount.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that. And so it is fantastic that you're using that opportunity to bring awareness to that and to discuss the mental health stigmas. And I love the projects that you're doing with the VA. I have sleeve tattoos. I've got a lot of tattoos, and all of mine have a story. I've been through a lot of things in my life as well. And so that's exciting to hear that you guys are doing that. And I hope that you're able to travel with that and project when COVID hopefully dissipates or goes away.
Hopefully.
I don't know what's going on with COVID. Everybody's like, when COVID ends, I don't know what that's going to look like. But that is just absolutely, I love it. I love everything that you're doing. I love that we've connected. And I think that hopefully as Vigilant Valkyrie continues to grow and becomes a nonprofit, that it can be something that we can establish a relationship between what you're doing and what we are trying to do, and continue to reach out and better support the female veteran community as a whole.
Oh, absolutely. I think we have opportunities to really do more for the female veteran community. It's interesting. This week I was talking about doing this video here, and people are like, well, what is that? So I had an opportunity to talk about Vigilant Valkyries. And I said, it is a group for women veterans, but not just women veterans are there, but it's really a chance for us to talk about those things that we struggle with, and resources that are available, programs that are available that may not be as publicized because it's not glamorous, maybe.
Right. Yeah. And I think besides not being glamorous, it's people just don't expect, like, they don't look at me and think that I'm a soldier, and right. I don't think many would look at you and think that you're a veteran, like you're in pageants, like it's just not anticipated. And Vigilant Valkyrie, as you said, we are trying to be that place that female veterans can come to and feel related and understood. And it is open, it's a page that's open to the public. And I love that a lot of our brothers have joined our social platforms, and they're supportive. And there's a lot of times that when we have discussions that are particular to female veterans, their input is, wow, I never thought of that. Or I love learning this from your guys' perspective. I didn't think my sisters faced this or, went through this. And so I think it's been a really big eye opener for a lot of our male counterparts that are part of our social platforms. But we are, I don't know if you're aware, I know you're not local here to Colorado, but we are starting up a social/support group specifically for female veterans that are here local in Colorado right now. We might be starting this in Florida as well, because that's one of our other admins is. Yeah. But we are trying to create that safe place for female vets to come, and if they so feel comfortable, talk about their MST or talk about harassment they may have faced in the military, but then also be a comfortable enough place to just joke and connect. We really want to establish that safe camaraderie of us sisters, because we are actually, as I'm sure the hardest on each other. Especially, and that's something that I still face being in the service. I get connected better with the males than the females, because there's just more apt to want to go at each other and tear each other down instead of supporting each other, which is really disheartening because we're way outnumbered,
Yes.
And so I think that the social support group that we were trying to establish, and we're starting actually next week, is going to be a great place to try and build that camaraderie amongst the female veteran community here locally. And then we hope to branch out. And that is just one of the many things that we are trying to do as Vigilant Valkyrie.
Well, I think you could take, the whole old statement about, girl, if you are not straightening someone else's crown, you're trying to knock it off. So we're not in competition. We're veterans. There's no need for us. We're not trying to get to the next position. We should be helping picking up the next person. Listening to their struggles, or just say, hey, did you know about this opportunity or this opportunity? There are things that I didn't even know that the MST coordinator could do that we talked about in the video, and afterwards, like, so since you talked about that, how about we talk about hooking me up with that? Just things like fight guards and yoga classes and other resources that are local that they want to connect with female veterans, but you don't know unless you reach out. So I definitely think we need to work on picking each other up more. And, the whole, the focus with the MST that I have is also that, the biggest dirty secret is that men are often MST victims. And their ability to report is even worse than ours.
Yes.
So the ridicule that they face and be able to come forward and say, yes, I am a victim. This happened to me is so much worse, because people say, well, if the female wasn't there, I'm like, if you think it's not happening to men, you're crazy. Because it's happening to them. They just don't report it even less than we do.
That's very true.
So, I just want to make sure when women talk about MST, they realize there's a whole segment of men that are just as damaged or injured from that similar kind of trauma.
And I know there's need to maybe work on creating some graphics, but because it's harder to find. There's during I think it was last year's Sexual Awareness Month or Sexual Assault Awareness Month, that we did share some things in reference to our brothers, and the statistics of males that have been assaulted in the military and those that actually come forward about it. And we had so many people like, wow, like I didn't think that, I didn't realize that. And it's like, our male soldiers and male service members, unfortunately, experience that as well. It's not just one sex that experiences it. And as you said, that's kind of like a dirty little secret. Not many people realize that or think that it's even possible, and it very much is, unfortunately.
So I'm excited to work with you guys in the future, especially as you get your 501c3. I think it'll pair hand in hand with the work that I'm doing, and I can actually reach out to companies and say, hey, this is something you can get behind that is not just a warm fuzzy, because it is a warm fuzzy, but it is good PR. It is good for them to be supporting veterans. Then they're supporting females. I mean, there's so much more behind it that I'm excited about your guys' next steps.
Yes, thank you. As are we. And it's been a long, slow process to get our 501c3. It's, being on deployment, it was really hard to do anything with the business plan. And so now that I'm home, Storm and I are diligently working on that. And we've made some great connections that will assist us with that application process for our nonprofit and then assist us with grant writing. And so we are so excited for that. And then the programs that we're looking to establish once we are a nonprofit. One of them is one of the biggest unmet needs we have heard from our female veterans community is assistance with temporary childcare so that they can take care of themselves, so they can go to their VA appointments, counseling, gym, yoga, things like that. And so what we are looking to establish is a connection with, for example, care.com, to where that female vet would come to us, proof of that appointment, not details, but proof of, hey, I got a VA appointment. Okay, they'll secure their babysitter through care.com, and we will pay care.com for that sitter. That is kind of what we're looking at trying to establish, so that they are finding a vetted, background checked, sitter safe for their child, and Vigilant Valkyrie is paying for it. So that's kind of one of the number one programs that we're looking to launch once we do become a nonprofit. And then, as you said, it's big on just getting those resources that are specific to female vets out there, because they're not commonly known. There's not a lot of them. And so we just want to be really big on making these connections, such as with folks like you, I want to know more about the connections you got with the VA. I know that there's a lot of people that the struggle with the VA oftentimes is a rough one, unfortunately. And so I think it'll be great to learn some more offline with you about some potential resources and info to share amongst our page. I think that'd be phenomenal. And like you said, I'm so excited for the next steps for our organization. It's a slow but steady process, and I know that we're going to get there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely willing to help you guys out because having been in the VA system a long time, you kind of learn a few things.
Yeah.
Those things that work, those things that don't, who to go to when you face challenges. And you like the number one thing I tell people is raising Cain in the VA is never going to do you good. You can be very upset. There is ways to do it that is more receptive because most of those staff have no ownership over the rules or how things happen. They don't even have any access to why appointments are booked the way they are. They're just told to do stuff. And if we can remember that there's a lot of veterans there too. There's probably more women veterans that work in the VA than outside, in different corporations as a whole.
Right.
So a lot of the staff do understand. But yes, I get the full frustration. There are times I have had my frustrations with them. It's just figuring out how to work with them to get what you need as a veteran, advocating for yourself, advocating for your brothers, your sisters, and knowing the chain of command within the structure to call.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think those would all be great things for us to kind of put together, maybe as like a flyer type format and get that shared on Vigilant Valkyrie. I would love to do that, to just get that information and resources out there. Shoot, I could even use it for myself. I'm struggling with some VA stuff right now. And I'm like, I don't know how to do any of this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because, and it's things like before you get out, get copies of your records, get your physical. Even if you don't think you're going to go to the VA, go and get your VA physical. Get it done, get yourself in the system because it's better to be in the system before you need it than when you actually need the system.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So before maybe we like close out or what have you, what can Vigilant Valkyrie do to support you maybe with these pageants, with your platform? Do you need like advertising, sharing, what can we do for you?
Actually, that would be fantastic. I didn't really want to ask, but yeah, if you want, there is advertising for nationals. Okay. And each page is $100, but you would be in the national program over the weekend that the national pageant is out there. So it kind of helps me, but it also helps you. And it would, you can include your logo. If there's other businesses that want to contribute, and get the words out, it goes in that national program as a sponsor page. Oh, wow. And then, for me, it gets your name out there, especially if you're looking at a national program, not just a particular state level.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Okay, I will get that information from you, and we'd love to check that out and hopefully get in there and be a sponsor for you. Especially, like I said, being a female veteran, I mean, this is what we're here for, to support, connect, and be that help be that recognition for our female service members and veterans. And fantastic.
That's just a bonus for me today. I didn't even expect that, so that's an amazing bonus.
Yeah, of course. I'm grateful that you reached out to us, and I hope that we keep in contact. And I'm just so excited to continue to hear how your pageants are going, how your work at the VA is going, and then continue to share what we're doing here at Vigilant Valkyrie. So thank you so much.